everybody. Welcome back, everybody, to Pop Culture Warrior. I, of course, am your host, CQ. Oh, man, I am excited for tonight's guest. This is going to be such a great conversation. My guest tonight is a native of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and stars as the young high school version of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the NBC comedy series Young Rock. The show was NBC's #1 new highest-rated comedy premiere last season. The second season will debut on Tuesday, March 15th on NBC at 8 p.m. Eastern, and season 2 is going to delve back into Dwayne Johnson's life, continuing the storylines we know and love from season 1, while also introducing new chapters we haven't yet seen. So, without further ado, I'm so excited. Please, everyone, give a warm welcome to tonight's guest, the incredibly amazing Bradley Constant. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. Thank you, man. I'm happy to be here. Hey, everybody.
This is so awesome. I truly am humbled and honored that you would take the time out days before the big premiere of season 2 to be on the show.
Man, are you kidding me? I have so much free time right now.
That's right. This was shot weeks ago, right? This was shot months ago.
Exactly. This is old news, man. No, thank you for having me. I'm happy to do this.
Of course. So right off the bat, I'm going to hit you with the same question I get everybody with. What is your connection to the military?
I don't have any family that has served in the military. My great grandfather on my mom's side served in World War One. I don't know a whole lot about him, but I know that from a very young age, I was very into war. I guess there's one way to put this. Like, I'm obviously don't glorify war or anything, but as a kid, like I was obsessed with Nerf guns. I was obsessed with like war. I had my mom add an extra package, so I had the military channel on the TV. So I'd come home and watch the military channel religiously because I was obsessed with all the history of World War II and the Vietnam War. So I watched all my Vietnam movies and everything, Full Metal Jacket. And that's me in like 5th grade, and I had all my Green Army men and everything like that. So I was really into the military. But I, of course, played baseball and I got into acting at some point. But I don't have that direct connection, but I've always had a deep respect for everyone who has been in service and all of our veterans, of course. And I think, there's such a, even though I didn't join the military, I didn't end up doing that, but I think I learned a tremendous amount from, learning about the history and learning about the sacrifices that, what it took to, step forward for the people that, you care about and you're caring about, looking after others. And that's a big thing that, was impressed upon me from a young age. And I kind of growing up in the South, you kind of have that mentality too, like you always have respect for your servicemen and always have that with me forever.
That's awesome.
Men and women.
Yeah, no, that's incredible, man. That's such a noble thing, and it's awesome. And we not everybody serves, and that's okay. But just having that appreciation for those that did, that's an awesome thing to do. And who knows the opportunities, man. You see a lot of these Hollywood types, they do like a USO tour and they go visit the stations and visit the hospitals and things like that. Maybe that's in your future.
If that opportunity ever came around, I would love to do something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. My people will call your people. We'll make it happen. We'll get you squared away.
It for me,
man. So before we dive into Young Rock, which I'm so excited to talk about, and I'm sure that's what everybody wants to hear us talk about, I want to get to know you a little bit better. So I did my homework, man. I did a little digging. I found that you're a marathon runner. You like to golf. Yeah. I mean, you're a 23-year-old. How do you get in? Nobody marathons in their early 20s. How did you get into marathon running?
I don't know, man. I've always, it's so weird. Like I played baseball. That was my main thing. I was a pitcher and I played first base. And then I got hurt. I had a tumor in my shoulder and I had it removed, and that took me out of baseball for like a good year. And I don't know, I came back and I failed tryouts 3 times in a row. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And I started gaining weight because I was playing Xbox too much and sitting on my butt, going into high school. And my brother took me out one day and he was like, hey, come do this run. And obviously I looked up to my big brother and I did like a mile and I was huffing and puffing and dying. And it took me like 20 minutes. But ever since, that's something I've always relied on for my mentality. I don't really do it to lose weight or anything like that. it's just, even when I was in high school in 8th grade was when I started doing it. I'd wake up and go run at 5 a.m. before school, and just do it religiously. And if I hadn't done it, like, I didn't feel good the rest of the day. It was a mental thing, really. And when I ran my first marathon, I think I was 17 years old. Yeah, when I ran my first marathon, I was 17, about to turn 18, and it was a New York City marathon. And I remember one thing my coach told me, because the furthest I had ever run before doing 26 miles was like 13. And she said, if you can run 13, you can run 26. It's all in your head. And it sure enough was. It was a battle. I'd really trained for it, but you get to mile 17 and then you're hurting and you're cramping. And it's like, you could easily just quit and turn around. But for me, having no need to actually finish it, but I pushed myself to finish that. And I've run 5 now. And I think I love to run them now. I need to run another one here soon. Like, it's a good reminder to myself that I can push myself through anything, because it's always a battle, no matter how hard I've trained for it or how ready I think I am. It's always tough, and that's why I love marathons so much. I want to do an Ironman someday too. I want to push it as hard as I can.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm gonna swim, then I'm gonna scuba dive, and I'm gonna skydive,
yeah,
and do the whole thing.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then golfing. You do golfing too. I mean, was that just
Yeah.
is that a leisure thing? Is that a competitive thing? What is that for you?
That one, when I grew up, my dad used to always have the Golf Channel on, and I grew up watching Tiger Woods go crazy. Like, all through his prime, winning all those Masters, and so my dad took me on a golf course once when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and that stuck with me forever. Even though I sucked, my dad was terrible too, and I felt like we didn't belong on that course at all. But you know, I don't know. It really is just something that's so relaxing, and it's also a mental thing too, because no matter how good you are, you can have bad swings, bad hits, but you keep going and you can catch up with it. If you got a bad first tee shot, you can come back and do better than somebody that drove it the green the first time. So
Yeah.
it's just really relaxing and peaceful to be out there, and I like it.
Everybody that says golf is relaxing, I've tried it. I'm stressed out. I'm getting mad. I'm throwing golf clubs. It gets ugly.
Yeah.
It gets ugly.
I mean,
real
I do
fast.
that. I do that too, but it's like, yes, relaxing. Like, I'm over here breaking my golf club or something.
Such stress relief.
Yes,
Yeah.
stress relief. Exactly.
So you mentioned the baseball, you mentioned the marathon running, you mentioned the golf. So it would be easy to assume, oh, this guy's a jock. He's an athlete. That's all he is. You're a self-professed nerd too, right? You're into the
Big time. I see that stormtrooper helmet you got
Yeah,
in the
you
back.
got-
I noticed that first thing.
You're big into Star Wars and gaming. I mean, what's your where's your nerddom, right? Where's the flag of your nerddom? Where is it at?
It's definitely at Star Wars. Star Wars is definitely the thing I have the most knowledge on, and the thing I geek out about. I cry when I go to the theater and watch the movies.
All right.
Granted, I came. The first movies that I actually watched. Well, I saw one of the prequels. The first one I saw in theaters was Revenge of the Sith. I think I was like, I don't know, 4 years old, 5 years old, something like that. And then I don't know why a 5-year-old was at Revenge of the Sith. That was kind of a dark movie. But that's when it stuck with me. And I came out and watched the new ones when they came out, and I really enjoyed them. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation we could have another time if you want to delve into Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
But overall, I was just excited to be able to go to a Star Wars movie in person, and it's a new movie.
Capture that
Yeah, and I
experience.
think part of it was even kind of the military aspect to it, because, like I said, I was so obsessed with Nerf guns and all that, and I had a stormtrooper helmet, like a clone trooper helmet, because I was obsessed with like the Clone Wars and all that. And me and my friends were fellow nerds. We would we'd run around with our blasters and everything. I had all the Star Wars gear you needed.
Sure, yeah. You gotta make sure you gotta be authentic. You gotta miss everything. You can't hit anything if you're gonna really play the stormtrooper, right?
Yes, no, 100%, exactly.
Can never hit a target.
Exactly, that's part of it.
So, and you're a big gamer, Xbox. I know you a lot. I see a lot of stories. You talk about gaming and Xbox. What's the franchise? What are you playing? What's that thing you're into?
Right now, man, I just got the Switch, but I like Xbox. We'll talk about Switch in a second. But Xbox is my main thing. I play Call of Duty like nobody's business. I'm very good at Call of Duty. I will go ahead and say it out here confidently. I'm very good. That's one thing. Like it was a bonding game for me and my older brother. I have two older brothers, and we used to play that all the time. We still do. We go to the midnight releases. When I was in school, I would skip school the next day. My mom would let me. My mom was so cool. She literally would let me go to the midnight release with my brother, and then we'd skip school. And it used to come out on Tuesdays, not Fridays. So we'd skip school that Tuesday, play all day, and then I'd kind of pretend I was sick for the next couple days afterwards. We just play. I probably had like 30 plus days played on that, like all Call of Duty games up until a couple years ago, because now I have a job and I don't have as much time.
Right, now you're a professional, now
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
game.
yeah. But even then, oh man, when I traveled out this season, because we shot in Australia, other people had their suitcases, because you're living there for 5, 6 months. And me, I had one big suitcase, and then I had a giant monitor because it's my curved monitor. That's what I game on. So I brought that, and I had a separate thing, a separate case for my Xbox and everything that I had for it. Only regret is that I didn't bring my gaming chair. But everybody was like, "Why? What are you carrying around this big ass monitor for?" It's like
A true gamer
exactly.
travels with his monitor.
Yes, 100%. I mean, if we've had, we'll have long shoot days. So if we've shot like, I don't know, 16 hours one day and I come home and was like, I'm super tired, I'm still going to probably play. That's how I wind down. It'll be like 2 a.m. I'll go to the gym, then I'll come back and I'll play for a good hour at least.
Do you ever, speaking of Xbox, do you ever dive now into like the wrestling games just to get into the mindset of the characters and the physicality of it?
I never have, and the way that you're telling me this right now, and I'm really ashamed that I never used that as a study tool for the show. I could have probably done that, but no. I mean, when I was younger, when I was little, like not video games, I used to play. Like when my friends had the action figure set. So we had like the whole SmackDown arena. We had Stone Cold and The Rock and everybody. And I used to go over his house and we'd play with them and just like throw the action figures at each other.
Yeah, you get the breakable table and the ladder,
table, everything. Oh my God. But yeah, I mean, I feel like, there was a gap between when I was really little until, around the time that this show came back, where I wasn't super into wrestling or anything. When I was younger, I really was. My dad had it on all the time, and I was obsessed with it too. But this show has reignited my love. It is so fucking cool, and I'm gonna let that out there. Now that's the level of of cursing we can hit now. But man, it was so like I the way that I don't want to spoil some things. I'm trying not to say things, but there's. Especially this season, my character's a lot more involved with the wrestling than I was last year. I had a real fun, like high school thing going on last year, which I loved. It was so cool. But even last year, while I was filming my high school things that were going on, I would love to just come visit the other guys on set. Like the guy who plays Rocky Johnson, Joseph Lee. I go watch him shoot one day. And this man is not a wrestler. He played basketball in high school, but this dude can seriously jump up like 6 feet up in the air, like full on drop kick. It's crazy. So to watch these guys, especially on the show, when they do it, when they perform it, we maybe record. It's a couple, sometimes 3 days worth of just them wrestling in the ring. And they're recording it and they'll run it all the way through. It's a real match, which is so cool. So we're basically just getting free matches of these guys who are perfectly reenacting these old school wrestlers, Ric Flair, all the above. So it's like, I get a front row seat to all of that, which is really special. I mean, and everybody watching the show will get a front row seat, especially this season. They've expanded the roster of wrestlers to another level. Every time, I think I've just diverged the topic now, but
you're fine. Go for it, man. This is all about you. Wrestling. You do you.
Yeah, okay. I'm geeking out about wrestling, but like every time a new wrestler would show up this season, we would all be at the hotel and I'd see them get dropped off. I'm like, "Who are you playing?" And they'd be like, I'm not gonna say it now because it'd be a spoiler, but they'd say their name and like, hell yeah, I saw it as soon as you got off the bus. And it's just so exciting what they've done this year. And a lot of the storylines are a lot more intertwined with the wrestlers than it was before. So you'll see people that pop up in my era and they'll end up popping up with Uli, of course, later on.
That's awesome.
But yeah, wrestling is awesome, and I definitely, if we hopefully get another season, I'm gonna go buy SmackDown and play that so I can do some research.
Yeah, man, you gotta get into the stories of it and the arcs and create your own character and all of
Some
it.
people can't make fun of me for bringing my monitor out. This is how I study. Okay, I go home and I play WWE when I
Yeah.
get
You
home.
you sir are dedicated to your craft like no other.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm a serious actor.
That's right. That's right. Take it serious. And
Yeah.
then the last thing I was gonna ask you too is I read a little bit that you're into like making your own music, your own beats. Is that something
Yeah.
you still dabbling in?
Yeah.
I know you
Man,
keep it private.
I haven't. That's like one of the more low key things that I do. I like the last few months, I haven't quite as much, but I really have gotten into that in the last like 3 or 4 years. And I'll come home, and especially during the pandemic, because like we had nothing. Well, it's still pandemic, but 2020 when it first all happened, we couldn't leave our house and you couldn't go to restaurants. Like I was bored out of my mind. So I was just trying to find hobbies. I mean, I played Xbox, of course, but once you've played Xbox, 10 plus hours a day, you want to find something else you can add into rotation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Seem productive.
So
You want to seem
yeah,
productive.
I want to seem productive, right? At least that, I'm being creative. So I would just come home, make some beats because I was still working through all of that. Actually, I worked at a grocery store. So I'd do my shifts and I come home and sometimes I just relax. I had like all the lights in my room, kind of like how you have set up. Yeah. And I'd have it real dark and I might like an incense or something and just keep the vibes going. I make a beat and they're all kind of trash, but
Hey, it's for
it's
you.
fun. Exactly.
That's the
It's
whole
fun.
thing.
It's for me. Yeah,
Do you
exactly.
think if like is that something that as your career progresses and you're doing different things and maybe you're trying to challenge yourself or tap into other genres, is that you think that's something that you would like to like mess around with, maybe collab with some big producer or something like that? Is that something ever be interesting?
You know what? I would love to do that. I really would love to because I think I love music so much. And I think that's one reason that I really got into it because I think music does so much for us. Like when we're sad or especially like I realized that year, like every moment that I have in my life that has been important, I remember an album that came out around that time. When this show released, I remember an album I played a lot, to celebrate the fact that I got this role, like so music lifts us up when we're sad. It's there for every moment, that we have. And I think I feel like I owe it to music sometimes to like even to put out a trashy beat, just to like pour my creativity into that. So yeah, I would love to. And I think, I put a lot of time into it. It'd be really awesome to like have someone kind of, show me the ropes a little bit more. And I would definitely, I should get into it again and do it more than I
I
have
think
the last
so.
couple of months.
You
Yeah.
gotta give us more. You gotta give us more Bradley, man. Get the content out there. And I mean, let's tie it together. Every wrestler has his theme song. He has his entrance music.
Yes.
You gotta
Yes.
have, when you walk into a room, they got explosions and the sounds, and
Yes, exactly,
you
bro.
gotta get your
Yeah.
beat going.
Uh-huh. I mean, it's just like when I played baseball, the same way we had our walkout song,
Mhm.
it's the same way. Um, yeah, I should do that. I should make my own walkout song, even just for on set,
Yeah.
when they're like, bring me from my trailer, let me have a walkout song when they're
There you go.
dragging me.
Like Bradley to the set, and you
I
explosions.
know,
You
dude.
kick
I'll
out
be
the
like,
door.
this guy.
And
Uh,
Hollywood hasn't gotten to your head at all at that point. No,
no,
it's
not at all.
just
No, no.
he's still a humble guy. Still a humble guy.
Yeah, still humble. Just gotta have a badass entrance.
So okay, so we said you grew up. You started out in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Um, for those, I'm a New York City boy myself. That's where I'm born and raised. So for those that don't know, what's it like? What's it like growing up in Alabama?
Shoot, Alabama. Also, I moved to New York City at one point. I lived there for a few years. But growing up in Alabama, I think I left there when I was around 15. It's awesome. It gets so overlooked. I feel like everybody talks about LA or New York City, which New York City is an amazing city. But like you go down south and I got like my childhood was just so awesome. Like we grew up, we had massive amount of woods just to play in. Like when I go home, we still have like some of the trails that we had made. Like my childhood was growing up in a like chill neighborhood close to the woods. We all had our paintball guns, and you knew where all the kids in the neighborhood were because there were like 20 bicycles in somebody's front yard. So we'd be playing. I don't know, Nintendo 64 at somebody's crib, and then we'd go have a massive paintball war in the woods. So when I moved to New York City, I was like, I saw these kids on the subway train. I'm like, "What do y'all do, man?" I'm like, "What do y'all do for fun?" Where's basically, I feel like it's just a completely different environment. I love
Yeah.
the laid back childhood that I had. I love being able to build forts and have bonfires and do all that. And, um, going into my gas station down the street and just having a random conversation with a stranger and they get to know you and they're so kind. And I think that's still a thing. They're like, "Oh, how you doing? How's your auntie? How's you, um, which was really a great way to grow up. And I thought it was a lovely place to be, especially Tuscaloosa. That was right off the university, and my family worked there. My mom, my grandparents, everyone. And everybody that grows up there typically goes to Alabama, the University of Alabama.
Sure.
So it's so close knit, and we have so much pride for that football team. You got no idea. I think everybody thinks that we're spoiled fans of the University of Alabama. We're not. When it's your blood and you're there with that, and we've had some tough years before, So I don't know. It's just a really lovely place, and I have a deep love for Alabama. I was just there a few days ago. I made a trip home and visited some family. It
That's
was
awesome.
nice.
Staying in touch with the roots, right? Where you came from.
Yeah, stay in touch with the roots, man. Exactly.
Right on, right on. And I know I read that, and we kind of discussed a bit that early on were really into baseball. This is something that you maybe even considered professionally. Like maybe you're going to grow up and do the baseball thing, but obviously you had the surgery. I'm curious in that moment, and I know you eventually find your way to acting and that, but in that moment when you've been thinking about baseball and dreaming about baseball, and that's what you want to do, and you find out it's not going to happen, or because of the injury or because trying out. I mean, what's your thought at that time? Like, are you okay? I got to find the next thing, or was this really a hard thing to kind of get past?
I think for me, when that happened to me, I wasn't. It might be a little different than someone who went to college and realized they can't go pro. For me, I was what? I was in 8th grade, so it it wasn't as traumatic. But I think I really loved baseball so much, even at that age, and that really was my identity. I could not wait to go to baseball practice. I did travel ball and all that, and I really wanted to go pro. Um, and I felt like, when I remember crying, like, on my last tryout when I was literally swinging. I missed every ball,
Mhm.
and I think it was just because, I don't know, I was exhausted from trying because I know I could hit a ball, I had done all the practice and everything, but I think I went through a really hard time once, I missed those tryouts and I couldn't play baseball anymore, and that kinda realization that it was getting a lot more competitive, so it was really hard to keep up. And I love the sport, and I think it's what a lot of people that as you get older, you love to play the sport, but now you're just resulted to playing like pick up with some friends. You can't play like really competitively anymore,
The beer
you know.
leagues, man. You got to get into the beer leagues.
Yeah, exactly. And it's still a fun way. Exactly. Shoot, I'm looking for a baseball league right now. I'd love to join one here in LA.
Mhm.
If anybody knows of one, hit me up, please. I'd love to join a local baseball league. But I think, yeah, even at that age in 8th grade, I think it hit me hard, and I go home and I watch TV, and I love TV. I've always loved TV. Who doesn't love TV? But I would just Google like behind the scenes clips of stuff because I thought it was so fascinating. And I think the whole creation of every movie, every part of it, and TV is fascinating, but mostly the actors.
Mhm.
Also because they get so much free time. You're like, I woke up at like 10 a.m. today, so that was the best job to have. The crew work a lot harder than we do. So all respect to them. But I think, I said this is something I would love to try to do. And I did some musicals and stuff when I was in elementary school. So I thought, hey, I'll give it a try. Started taking some classes not too far from where I was in Birmingham, Alabama. And I absolutely loved it. My first class, like just pretending and having fun. I think I've always been real goofy. I've always like goofed around with my friends. We pretend to be the soldiers or we pretend to be anybody, Um, and I don't know, it kind of took off, although it really took a long time because I booked this role in 2020, but that was around 2012, 13. Um, actually, Lord, it was 2011. And so it's taken about 10 years to finally book something big. This is my first big role. Until then, I've had some really cool commercial gigs, and I've had probably thousands of auditions, and I have not booked most of those. you
Part of the
know,
process, right?
Exactly. So it's a process, and like I said, it goes back to the marathon running thing. It's all a marathon, and it's, you got to keep pushing yourself. And baseball didn't work out, but I still love it so much, man. I really do. I'm a big Yankee fan. I know you're from New York, so I'm nervous to hear what fan you are. You
Yankee,
about to
man.
say Met?
No, no,
Uh,
no, Yankees, man. It
Yankees.
depends
Oh,
where you were born in the city. Is tends to be like the
yeah,
lines of what team you root
yeah.
for. So I
Or
get like,
Bronx or Queens, yeah, or one or the other. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I'm a big fan. I love going to games still, and baseball's still in my heart. So
That's awesome.
um,
That's awesome.
everything happens for a reason. I'm glad on the path that it put me on. When I stopped playing baseball.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, you couldn't. You stole the words right out of my mouth. And to give people clarity, so you start doing that at 15. You convince your mom to pack it all up and
Yep.
let's go to New York. Right, greatest city in the
Yep.
world. I hate to. It is what it is.
No, it still is. It still is to me. Yeah, I mean, LA is cool and all, but no, New York City,
There's nowhere like it. Nowhere like it.
nowhere.
But and you're doing the acting chops. You're
Yeah.
learning. You're growing. You're doing all the things, and then at 18, you once again convince your mom, coolest mom in the world, to pack it all up and
Yeah.
go out to LA.
Yeah.
And I'm curious at that moment. You've obviously we're past little kid aspirations of baseball. Now you're this is somebody that is clearly dedicated to the craft to pick up and move cross country and then cross country again.
Yeah.
At 18 years old, moving to LA, can you remember in that mindset what was success, right? What in your mind, what would have said, okay, all this was worth it. I got to this point, this thing happened, and I'm a success.
Um, you know, I think when I stopped chasing that thing, that because I think it's really tough, especially when I came to LA, even more so than New York City. It was like there's so many actors,
Mhm.
and everyone you can say you're an actor, but then when people ask you what you do, you have nothing to show for it. You know what I mean? If they don't know what you've been in or they don't know anything, they don't know like how hard you have worked to have finally got there. There have been a lot of years before you book that big thing. And I think, instead of chasing that big booking to prove to anyone, I stopped worrying about proving it to anybody. I didn't have to. Like my mom supported me and loved me always. My grandparents did. My two big brothers, they always supported me. And I realized that, this thing could probably take, 10, 15 years. I could be in my 30s before, I'm 23 now. I could be in my 30s before I book my big thing. So I have to love the grind and I have to love, I enjoyed going to work. I enjoyed working at the grocery store. I love my coworkers and I had fun. I went to Disneyland. I lived my life in the meantime, but while was on this grind. So I think I feel like I made it once I got in that headspace where I was really just satisfied in the grind. And I knew that one day, whenever that was, something great would come along. And this show eventually came along years down the line. And that's what makes it all worth it. And I think I kind of had that mind state a little bit when I was in New York City. But while I was out here in LA, I think I learned it a lot more. Because I think I still earlier on expected. I was like, oh, every audition would come around. I was like, oh, this is the one. This is the one. And eventually get to a point where like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do all my prep and I'm gonna do this. I got this, and I'm gonna do the audition. Move on. I'm gonna go out to eat after this audition.
Yeah.
And you don't think about it as much. And that's a mind state that I'm going to carry on with me going forward because you just have to love the grind. And it's not just about the big job that you book because, as I'm realizing now, I'm still auditioning, man. Like the job doesn't, the journey doesn't stop. The dream hasn't, stopped just from booking this big thing. And
Yeah, you get to the peak of the mountain and then the clouds cleared. You go, holy shit, it's even
you're like,
higher.
"Yeah, look at all over there." Yeah, exactly.
You got to keep
Yeah, like when
going.
you're playing Mortal Kombat and you get to the top of the mountain and then you're like, oh shoot, oh god, I beat Shao Kahn, but there's like a whole two more games to play.
Yep, yep, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and you're so. I mean, that's such a good answer. I mean, honestly, we don't judge answers here, but man, good answer, great answer.
Uh,
But because and you hear stories. Was it Sam Jackson was in his late 40s before he got
yeah,
his first thing. You know what I mean? So you
mhm,
can look at some, I mean, absolute legends in the business. Oprah got fired from her radio, or it was a radio gig at like it was like 32 or something like that. So,
Mhm.
there's no, for all those people watching, there's no excuse not to grind, not to keep, believing in your dream and keep going. So great answer, man.
It can
Very
take
inspiring.
any amount of time, like, you really and that's why it is, like, getting to that mind state of the grind because that's how you can enjoy your life, and that's how you can get to that point, and that's how you don't quit. That's how you keep yourself from quitting, by
Yeah.
not, like, having those expectations or putting too much, weight into something happening tomorrow.
Mm. That's beautiful. Yeah, I'm gonna shed a tear. I'm gonna shed a tear. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
It's not that
I'm gonna
beautiful,
I'm
man.
gonna clip this, and this is gonna be like I'm gonna have a button when I need motivation. I'm gonna hit that
Oh,
button,
yeah?
and this is what's gonna happen. You know,
Make it your ringtone.
oh my god, yeah. I once heard an actor say that the money we make is not for the work we're doing, it's for the work we put into the work. Like it's for the auditioning. It's for the
Mm,
months you don't have a job. It's all the
yeah,
character like it's all like the filming part of it is the fun part. That's the play part.
yeah,
And not my
yeah.
words, these are somebody else's words, but like that's the part
Mhm.
you enjoy it, but you're getting paid for all the other stuff, all the other stuff that's not
Yeah,
acting. Do you feel the
yeah.
same way?
Oh, the same way, and it's probably something I should not say. I'm sure my agent wouldn't be happy to hear this. I'm like, I'd work for free, man. I love it so much, but we do like to get paid.
Yeah.
But I think that is so true. I think you really do get paid for all the work that you do put in behind the scenes. Like I said before you even book that job. In a way, that's what I kind of felt like with this job when I made money. I was like, oh my god, when I go to Chick-fil-A, I don't have to stress like that's gonna stop me from being able to pay my rent at the end of the month. Are you kidding me? That's how I feel now, and I think it really is just rewarding you for everything you put in between the time. Because while you're there, I don't care if I'm working 17 hours, I get 2 hours of sleep. I hardly slept through filming, but I think like I would not trade it for the world. I loved it. I didn't want to go to sleep. I know everyone else was tired. The camera crew, everybody else like looked like zombies by the end of the day, and I'm up here chugging a Red Bull. I'm like, so, can we shoot some more scenes today and then come back later? It really that is the fun part, and you get paid for everything else because I'm unemployed right now, so just
This
gotta save that money.
Yeah, that's what you're getting paid
Yeah,
for. I was say
exactly.
it's that feeling of you can go to Chipotle and not hesitate to get the guac, right?
Yeah,
Throw it on it,
exactly. That's all
double it
that
up.
matters. Are you kidding me? Man, last season when it like, was coming out, I did some interviews. I was like, "Oh, what was the most expensive purchase you had?" Like, well, you want me to tell you about a Tesla? No, man, no. The best part of it is that seriously, like going out to eat and not stressing about that, and not stressing about rent quite as much,
That's awesome.
and being able to help your family out more. Like one big burden of chasing this dream was being so far from my family all the time. And granted, I was with my mom, but we were just so broke. We did not have money to travel that often. So I go back home maybe once a year usually. And that was around Christmas. But now like I can go home and see family more often than I could before, which is really nice. And that's a plus. So
That's awesome. I know how much family is an important thing for you. I mean, hey, for a second, but shout out your brothers. I know they're accomplished guys, man. Give them some love. Give
there's
them a shout out, man.
oh, there's some fucking badasses. I mean, 100% I love my dad and I love my mom, but my brothers get all the credit. They get all the credit right now. They're 28 years old. They're just a few years older than me, but they are it's like I had 3 dads, in a big way, and I've always looked up to them. They're the cool big brothers. When I was in middle school, they were across the street at the high school, and I walk over and they were the cool kids. So, I have to shout them out because I got my music taste from them. I got my style from them. I pretty much stole everything from my older brothers. And they seriously have been there for me along the way, motivating me. I could call my brother anytime. When I was away filming and I was homesick, I could call my brother anytime when I have a question about anything that's to do with life. They've always been there to guide me through everything. And yeah, they're both just badasses and they're in their own careers doing amazing things right now. I just went to go visit my brother who had a new apartment. It looks so fucking cool. Like I'm inspired, man. I was like, okay, I need to hurry up. I need to get back to LA and get me a nice pad. And that's what we do. It's like it's not a competition, but it's healthy. Like we really keep each other motivated so
Yeah.
much. And I love them to death. Chris and Michael, I love you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we keep each other motivated, and it's really special.
That's great, man. I love that. Love it. It's so good. I'm an older brother, so I get
Yeah.
it. You got to set the example. You got to set the tone. You got to support the little ones, take them under your wing, and so
Yeah.
I get
Yeah,
it.
exactly,
You,
exactly.
you,
It's a special role.
yeah. And I was just saying, as representing the little brothers out there, you're doing a great job. You're a
Uh,
standout. That's what we don't want the knuckleheads, man. We want the guys that
that's
are
what you want as a
get.
big brother.
Yeah, man. You like, yeah. Look at that guy go. You want him to do
Yeah,
better
well, I
than
hope
you.
I'm making them proud. And I feel like I've always wanted to be a big brother too. I feel like I find myself unconsciously, not intentionally, just like kind of trying to be a mentor to any young person that comes into my life. Um, like in a small way. I don't try to mentor him. He doesn't need it. This kid is smarter beyond his years. But Adrian, who plays, young Rock, a little bit younger
Little
than me.
Dewey. Yeah.
Yeah, little Dewey, yes, yeah, yeah. That kid is so talented, but also so smart and so mature for his age. It's just ridiculous. He's just barely a teenager, and he's having to do school and work these same hours and spend months away from home, and that's difficult for all us adults on the show. So for him to be able to come over here, and he handles it like a professional. Shoot, when I worked with him on the Christmas episode, I was on my shit. I had to make sure I had everything ready because this kid had his lines done.
Yeah.
And I think for me though, that inspires me just to see someone young like that, so much younger than me. And I would like try to be there for him through any questions he had. And like, I got a Nintendo Switch because of him. We both got Nintendo Switch just to play it with
Nice.
each other,
Nice.
because, when you go home after set and then, you don't have anything else to do and you might miss home, like, all right, hey buddy, let's play games together. So we would do that sometimes. And I took him to Game Zone. We go to the arcade together. I enjoyed playing the big brother this year a lot.
That's awesome.
But it is a nice role to have. And I think you probably will agree. The big brother can learn just as much from the little brother.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, I want to get into the Young Rock stuff because this has been an awesome conversation already, but obviously people want to know all about the show and everything. Let me ask you real quick before, because I'm curious, because I know you didn't do the big things before Young Rock, but you were out there, you were hustling, you were doing commercial spots. I saw a couple of things that you were in. What was
all of them.
I saw a few.
Oh my god.
What was your favorite acting memory prior to booking Young Rock?
Oh man. Oh, that's hard.
That's what we do here. Hard questions. Very hard.
Favorite acting memory. God, it put me on the spot. I'm probably gonna say one that won't end up really truly being it. But
first thing that comes to mind.
Oh man.
Usually the bad ones that come to mind first.
This one isn't necessarily a memory on set or anything. But I remember when I got my first check from a job that I did, and I was in New York City, and I bought myself an Xbox. And I just remember when it came in the mail, and me and my mom lost our minds. It was like, I think it was like a $600 check, which is hefty. That's nice. I mean, in the grand scheme of things for the industry, no, that's not. That's like baby change. But for me,
first thing.
For me to be 15 years, 16 years old, getting that kind of check, and I bought myself an Xbox. I remember the moment I got it and my mom had it, and we took pictures and took a video. We were so excited. And like to be that excited over a small win like that, compare that to how we reacted when I booked, Young Rock.
Sure.
It was honestly just as exciting to me when that happened. Not to discredit this at all, but I think it was so special to me at that time to get my first check. I was like, hey, I'm an actual actor.
Yeah.
I actually have gotten paid for a job that I did with.
It's validation.
Industry.
That's what it is.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And now you have an answer when you do the talk shows and they go, what was your first big purchase? Xbox.
Xbox. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Xbox. Of course. Yeah. And it was a Google commercial that came out, and I was cut out of it entirely, but I still got paid. I was only there for one day. It was easy.
Hey, work is work, man. Yeah. Okay. So, you're out there hustling, you're doing your thing. Right before you book Young Rock, you're working in the grocery store, doing the auditions and stuff. I read all about how your agent or your people sent you the stuff for Young Rock, and you read it, and you got excited about it. You had to do a couple of interviews. Let's fast forward to the point where, okay, you're now in the running. You're in consideration. The first time you met The Rock, I know it was virtually. Was that, had you already booked it, or was it like there was like a testing thing with him?
It was after I booked it.
Okay, it was after you
Yeah.
booked it. Okay, so you book Young Rock, and I'm just curious, like, okay, this is huge. You know it's huge.
Yeah.
Anybody that would get this is like, oh my God, Dwayne The Rock Johnson is probably one of the biggest superstars of our generation at this point. I mean, he's done everything. Now breaking into music too, and tequila and all the other stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, literally everything, man.
everything he's got his hands in. So when you realize, okay, I'm gonna be this character, I I would imagine there is an immense sort of pressure to, oh crap, before you've met him, like I gotta, this is the larger than life person, and even though you're playing the teenage years, you still
Mhm.
got to do it justice. You can't let him down. You
Yeah,
can't let the
yeah.
Rock down, man.
Oh, I
So,
felt that,
what was that like?
yeah.
What was going through your head before you got to see him and talk to him?
Before I got to see him, it was such a weird time too because okay, for the timeline of everything, it was March of 2020 when I found out that I booked it, and I'd had a few auditions beforehand. My first audition was in January, and I found out in March, and it was maybe a week before things shut down and like restaurants were closing or like, oh, what is this COVID thing, you know? And then I found out I booked it, and I didn't hear anything for maybe a few months. It was a couple months, and I was like, "Oh, man, this thing, it might not go." I might have booked it, and then COVID might stop it. Um, so my emotions are kinda all over the place. I started to kind of, like, convince myself that, "Okay, move on," because this is what I always did with things that, auditions, so I could healthily move on and keep working. I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe it didn't work out." And then, I get an email, like, right at the start of the summer, and they're like, "Hey, how do you feel about shooting in Australia? Oh, also, Dwayne would like to chat with you. Are you free?" I'm like, "Wait, hold up." Like, I was just convincing myself that this job is not happening. And, then, immediately the nerves set in and the excitement that things were going on. But, um, I really started thinking back to my audition process, and I recorded a little, uh, improv thing that I had to send in for the audition. I went back and watched it, and I said, "Hey, this really has nothing to do with anything I've ever looked up about Dwayne." So then, like, then I was really confused. I was like, you know, who am I really playing? The only scripts I had seen were those 2 audition pages, and I was not sure that they would even be in the show. And, I started writing down, I wrote down so many questions, and I did not ask all of them. I didn't wanna just bombard them with questions my first time meeting them. And, you know, I was just really, really confused on what I would be playing because I knew that I was not gonna be copying him, playing him as a teenager, with what we really know him as. I started reading his book, and, most of the things that I would get from it still were iconic Dwayne moments. And when I met him, I launched him with those questions, and then, like, maybe after the 3rd question, he was just like, "Oh, okay, moving on from the questions." We just started conversating. I was like, "Oh, this is a lot more chill than I, came into it thinking," and
Sure.
it was a lot like this in a way, but even more laid back. It was just, get to know each other and about each other's lives, and it really wasn't like, "Hey, you're gonna play it this way, you need to do this." There was no, like, orchestrating of anything. He's just so easy to talk to and down to earth, a chill guy. And I think immediately my nerves were eased, and I did not even care about any of the questions I had anymore. And I think I really, in that, one conversation we talked for, it was like an hour and a half the first time I met him. And it was like, when I finished that, I said, "Oh, I know that guy now." It wasn't like, "Oh, that's the Rock I'm talking to," So I immediately got a sense for who he was as a person. And I think that, and that he kind of gravitated to a lot of things that I said that I had gone through in my life, which kind of blew my mind. I was like, "Oh, wow, we kind of have things in common. This is strange." And I think that brought it down to earth, and it brought it to a level where I realized that I can just play him as a teenager who is going through the things that are on the script. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
I don't have to be Dwayne Johnson as this teenager going through, and the writing is so great. Everyone that is written, all our producers are so like really super good. Like we have Brian Gerwitz who has written for him, has been in WWE for a long time. And like he'll be on set with us and he'll always have like he'll be texting Dwayne while we're shooting. So if there's anything that comes up, like, oh, something was this way, he'll go talk to, the director and they'll change that. You know what I mean? So anything that's particular to being authentic to Dwayne is already taken care of. And for me, like it's just finding that groundwork of kind of making him a very relatable person, which he is, but showing that in the show and not trying to be The Rock. It's really just being a person. Um, and he really is. And that's what makes the show special because I felt that way and that was groundbreaking for me. And I think you see that in the show a
Mm,
lot, that there's a lot of relatable things he went through. Granted, he's had a wild life, but the person himself at 15 is not The Rock that we know. Even
yeah.
and I think that's even more so than just my case. I think it's with the younger, little Dewey and big Dewey, with Uli playing him going older, even though he's playing a lot of more iconic things that we know of already. We're excited to see these moments. I think, Uli's doing such a fantastic job of bringing that to it. And that's what the show is really about, is making it relatable and showing that personable groundwork.
That's I mean it's so true, and I know friends close to him call him DJ. I'm curious, at what point did you ever feel comfortable calling him that? Are you guys on that level yet?
Yeah, I'm not call him DJ. I'll say, but usually when I talk to him, I won't say, "What's up, DJ?" I'll say, "What's up, Dwayne?" Like, "Hey, Dwayne." I mean, it's still, man. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I don't get like a little excited
Sure.
every time I talk to him. So, so I think, yeah, I don't call him The Rock. I never. I know actually the first time
What's
I
up,
talked
Rock?
to him, I was nervous and I said, "What's up, Rock?" And I was a big fan.
Yeah.
But by the end of it was thanks to Wayne, and I'll refer to him as DJ. But no,
Yeah.
he's cool.
Are you got? Do you have his phone number now? Is it that close?
No, I don't got his number. I don't text him in the middle of the night like, "Hey, what's up, big head? You want to play Xbox?" Like,
I just got this Switch, man. You want to get on there?
yeah, I'd be like, "Hey, dude, you wanna go grab some breakfast? Maybe go shoot some pool, go see a movie, go see Batman." No, we don't do
No,
that.
I'm sure he's one of the busy. I mean, like maybe him and like Kevin Hart are probably like the busiest guys in Hollywood. I swear. But I've heard that he has a real knack of that when he talks to you, like you feel like the only person in the world. Like it's just
Yeah,
so intimate.
it's yes, 100%. Even like, yeah, even that in conversation. But once we were doing all this press and stuff last year, and I was nervous. I was so scared. And we did Jimmy Fallon, and I was like, "Oh, what the?" I was like, "Who else is gonna be on here?" I was like, "Is there gonna be other people talking too?" So I don't gotta like be in the forefront. And it was just me and him and Jimmy, and he like is so selfless. He like made me feel so comfortable. Like he'll refer to you. So even you know what I mean. So he's
Mm,
always not about himself. Always, even though like he's so big and larger than life and so successful, he is that way in conversation. He is that way when there's a group of people around. Um, he's just a very humble guy and is really special.
yeah, the best type of people are the ones that try to lift up those around them. In my opinion,
Yes.
that
Hmm.
those are special people. Um,
Hmm.
and now, so that which leads into my next question, which is, you've spent so much time with him virtually in person. Um, what qualities about the man do you most admire?
Um, I admire his commitment, his love for his family, the way he prioritizes his family, and his empathy. The way that he like we were just talking about empathy in terms of how he puts others before himself, whether it be his family or the people, not air quotes the people, but the people,
The
and I
people,
think,
yeah,
yeah, I don't think that's a joke. That's not something that has just followed him since wrestling. I think that's something that is so like he really does follow through with. And that's not easy to do when you're as busy as he is. I don't think none of these accolades that he has, I think, were purely self thought. I think everything that he has done has in part been for someone else, for people to make them happy or to lift up his family or, it really is. He is what he says he is.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. Is there anything that surprised you most about him, or maybe something that most people wouldn't know about him? You could give us a little. I don't want to say dirt. That's not the wrong connotation, but is there something that most people don't know about him that they would be surprised to learn about him?
You know, I don't. That's something that's really hard to do because he is 100%. Forward with everything about him, whether it's like dirty laundry or it's everything, which I don't know, that's really hard. I can't think of anything. And if there was something, I won't say it. But
Smart. That's smart.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Watch
But
your
no, there's
job.
seriously with it, man. I mean, anything I could say, you could look up on the internet and
Yeah.
figure out.
I was hoping like he's not actually like it's a bald cap. Like he has
It's a bald
long,
cap.
he's long flowing
Yeah,
hair. He just doesn't want you to know about it. He wants to seem more
yeah.
humble, so he goes with
I
the
should have
bald cap.
told you that. I should have.
Save that one for the next interview.
Yeah, it's like he actually is not all that ripped. I mean, who could possibly work out that
It's a
much? And
bodysuit, right? It's
it's a bodysuit. Yeah,
it's
it's a
all fake.
bodysuit, man.
That's what I figured. That's what I figured.
Yes, it's a bodysuit.
I'm gonna clip that and send that to TMZ. So
Oh,
you
gosh,
just
you're
you
gonna
just dropped the
forward it.
exclusive.
You're gonna give me like red eyes and devil horns.
Bradley Constant spills the beans on the rock. So you kind of touched on it, that there is kind of a commonality between your story and his story in that, and then it again repeats in the show because right around that 15-year age, you had major changes in your life, right? You're moving from Alabama to New York City, and he's moving from wherever he was to Bethlehem, PA, and like these major life shifts and changes in your life. You know, was that something? I guess you could really tune into like what you went through, right, and put it into the character because of that.
Yeah, and it's like coming into this season, I had no idea what what would be the storyline for me. And it really leans into that a lot more this year. The struggle of having to bounce around so much and the impact that that has on his family and him. I'll be in Nashville this year, and that's right after he had to move away from Hawaii. And you know, it's like getting comfortable somewhere and then having to move right away. That's how I felt when I left New York City. I was comfortable when I left Alabama. But you know, you find comfort in that because there is a greater purpose for all of it, and that's a big focal point in his storyline too. It's about family and moving to whereas, it's going to be okay for all of you, going forward. It's the best thing to do, and it's hard to stomach, and it's very hard to deal with. And I definitely cried on that plane when I left New York City, and I cried my eyes out the whole drive up to New York City from Alabama. And it wasn't easy at all. And I think this season I definitely leaned into that. And especially I had been living with my mom all the way up until I left to go film the season last year. So I had moved out away from her. That was a big moment. We've been on this big journey together. So it was real tough to, we're not saying goodbye forever. She's here, but she's been my buddy. We've lived together and we've been on this path together. And I think, for that to be a big focal point of the storyline for me this season, but it also culminating for me in real life, was a big thing to lean into. And I really hope that I did a good job and I portrayed it well enough because it is something that I know a lot of people could understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And The Rock went on record and spoke publicly about that in his life, that 15-year-old time, those years were the toughest in his life. Yeah. So you as an actor, I mean, look, I love the show and I love everybody. I think everybody does such a great job with it. But when I look at the roles of young Rock, teenager Rock, and an adult, young adult Rock, which is such a weird thing to say. But I really believe that you have the meatiest role, right? Because the young guy, the little Dewey, gets to, cheerful, and I'm a kid and play, and there's some hard stuff, but mostly very fun, and the kind of the adult going into the football years is, it's tough, but he's on his own, he's finding his way, and you're kind of in this weird middle role, right? That most teenagers find themselves in, where
that they're really in. Yeah.
yeah, you're transitioning out of childhood, kind of transitioning towards adulthood, and but like it's like swinging back and forth of where, like, I'm being treated like a kid, but I want to be an adult, and like,
Yeah.
you really got I honestly believe the meatiest role of the series when you really boil it down. What has that been like for you to play against parents that are also, they're also on, because that's got to be the weirdest part of it, where the parents kind of, they're the thing that ties the whole, the whole show together with all the different storylines, but you get that middle part. What's that been like for you?
Really special, really special. It's almost therapeutic in a way, like, um, my relationship with my mom is so special. And the relationship with my dad is very unique. And I think being able to lean into that, and I get so many, especially this season. Oh my God. Like, it really is so much to do with his relationship with his parents and how this is all impacting them. And I think I've just been lucky. I think we all have a great role to play, and it's just a fantastic show. But I'm very blessed to have the role that I have. And I think that I'm very grateful to be able to lean into that. Yeah, it's just special. It really is. And I think the actors, big shout out to them. They're not like Joseph. He's he's like my brother's age, and he's playing my dad. So he jokes about it too much. We'll take him. I'd go fishing with him. We go fishing a lot this season. We go fishing with him after we shoot or something, and he'd be like, "Hey, son," I'm like, "You better stop that. You better stop that. You're not my son when we're not shooting." And then, but Stacy is so sweet. Oh my gosh, she reminds me so much of my own mom, and when I do scenes with her, it almost makes me choke up too. We have some special things.
Do I the heart, because this is a comedy series, but there's so much heart. And I don't want to say drama, but there are those moments, the ups and downs, the tensions. Do you guys get, like, provided a therapist for, like, for like the tough scenes? Like, how do you get through that and still keep it all together?
It's funny. When I left, we were like rapping or whatever. One of our producers said to me, he was like, "I don't get how y'all do that. You'll be like real sad or whatever in the scene, and then you'll like close the door and you'll turn to me on the monitor and you'll be like," you'll just be laughing. And like, it's just acting, man. Like, and part of it, we do get into it and it can bring up some things, which is tough, but this is a comedy. And I think it's beautiful that we can touch those things, but we all lift each other up, between takes, we're cracking up and laughing, and we are all staying at the same hotel. So we're all having a good time shooting this thing together, and it never really gets too down.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. So here's the hard hitting question. All right. From your perspective, from being on the inside, how accurate are these stories to Rock's? How much are we turning up the dial on the, exaggerating the situation? How accurate are we getting in these stories?
This is as accurate as any TV show or movie could possibly give it to you. I mean, it's TV, so I mean, something that was purple might be green on this show. You know what I mean? So it's not going to be exactly, but the story that we give you is the story that happened. And sometimes, like, the timeline's a little played with. I mean, maybe something is a few months away. But these things happen to him, and the relationships are very true and real. It's very authentic.
Yeah, and I think, again, as just a TV watcher, I look at a show, let's say like The Goldbergs, where it is semi-autobiographical, but it's shot in a way that's the timeline is constantly going forward, right? It's, it started at this point and we're getting to this point. But the blessing, the greatest thing about your show is that because you can time hop between these generations, you can kind of tell stories out of order in a way to tell a bigger picture story, right? Because sometimes we go through life and you don't, like, you're going through the thing, but you don't know what the lesson is, because, life has to happen. And then you can look back and go, oh, there's the lesson. That's what I
And
learned.
that's the beauty of having him in this show in his timeline, because it really is, it's not like he's sit down story time giving us a lesson every episode,
Mm,
but, you know, we do see the point of what is happening in his life, you know what I mean? These things that are happening and how that has affected him now, by having him, on this campaign trail and showing, the result of what has gone on in my era. So whatever happens in my episode, we see the result of it with him and his campaign trail. I think that's really cool to have, because I mean, I don't really think you always have them playing themselves in
mm.
their own show. So it's really special.
I love that he's not even technically playing himself today. He's
Yeah,
playing
but in the
himself the
future.
future. So like he is another version of The Rock that
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's he's not even The Rock. He's future. He's president
He's
candidate,
he's predicting what's his future in a way.
all right, so for real,
Yeah.
did he tell you, is he gonna run? Like, is he got inside and information? Is he
He didn't tell me anything.
this is
He didn't
this
tell
was
me
just
anything.
him. This is his way of testing the waters to see if people would be into
Yeah.
it. You know,
And also, I mean, look, Dwayne didn't sit down with a pen and pad in a remote location for like 6 months and write the season. We have a lot of really great, hilarious writers who have written a really wonderful story, and I think they figured out this really awesome way to kind of, like I was just saying, to make these stories make sense. And I think it's a fun thing to play with, him being president.
yeah,
And I don't think it's that serious. Who knows?
yeah.
I mean,
Because I
who
mean,
knows down the line?
but here's what was the alternative? Is like he's holding grandbaby Rock, and he's like, I'm gonna tell you about my life, and like I think this was a real creative way to like, okay, how can we delve into who he is as a person and where his character comes from, better
Mhm.
than like, I'm running for president. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah.
so for you, which I mean, my God, we're coming up at an hour, man. Do you have more time? Do you?
Then I'm chilling. Go for it. Yeah, I got some more time. Go for it.
Okay, all right. Like these are, I mean, you're doing fantastic. By the way, it's like you're a pro at this. You're doing great.
No, you're a great It's just conversation, man. I love chatting with people. You're awesome.
I appreciate it. Thank you. What was your favorite scene that you shot in season one?
Ooh. Oh, that's tough. Dang, man.
Yeah.
Also, bear with me. I actually, hot take, have only seen the first season once. I haven't watched it more than that. So it's been a good year since I've watched a lot of the stuff. But I think my favorite, it's just hard to watch myself, man. I'm so critical.
I
But
think most good actors will tell you, like, you watch it once,
yeah,
you take it in. I see the work paid off. I maybe
yeah.
note some critiques and then you move on.
Exactly.
That's the
Yeah,
healthy
we
way to
don't
do
watch
it.
our like, when we film it either, we just do it. I mean, some of us do sometimes, but I don't know. I'd get too nitpicky with it. But yeah, my favorite scene would probably be so the scene where I'm working at the pizza shop
Mm.
and I see Karen come in and I do the whole Hans and Franz thing. Man, are you kidding me? That was really funny because like the whole flirting with a girl and like I never had that kind of confidence when I was so to get to do that and all of those actors that I was working with, Todd is hilarious. They're all super sweet. Lexi, that was just a really fun day of shooting when we did all that pizza shop stuff. So.
Yeah. And I'm curious now because for those that haven't seen the show, first, shame on you. First,
Exactly.
second, you're playing the 15-year-old version of The Rock. Obviously, you're 22 at the time, 23 now, and that's the whole kind of in joke in that he was much more manly than his peers. He
Yeah.
was a grown ass man at 15 compared to the other high school kids. The other actors, that you're working with, are they all younger? Are they all about your age? I mean, is there a difference, or is it kind of level set?
We'll see, Taj, I think he was so sorry, Taj, it's flipping out of my brain, but I think he's 17 now. I think he was 16 when we were filming, or maybe I was wrong. Maybe he was 7. He was 16 when we were filming.
In that range.
Then he had a birthday, he turned 17. I'm terrible, terrible friend. But yeah, he's a little younger than me. Although he's an old soul and he's really cool. So when we hung out all the time, I would forget that he's that young. I thought he was in his 20s. But Lexi's around my age. But a lot of the extras that they would cast were all so much younger. I'd go up to chat with them between takes, like, "Oh, how you doing?" Whichever. They're like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, and skipping out of school today. Oh, what grade you in?" I was like, "Oh, I'm in 7th grade." I'm like, "Whoa, hold up!" Wait. So they would have like 12-year-olds. Even this season, there was a God, he had just turned 11, I think,
Wow.
10 or 11, and he was tiny.
I mean,
They would always get tinier people. It makes me look bigger.
that's it. That's the movie magic of it, right? Because
Yeah,
you want to make this guy look like he doesn't belong
yeah,
here. You surround him with
yeah.
small people.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, I'm 6'2". Right now I'm 6'2" and I weigh 215 pounds. I'm like, I'm not small, by any means. So
Mhm.
I think, it's just to even more exaggerate it, and it's so hilarious. I love it.
Yeah.
Every time I see it on screen, I lose my mind.
And I mean, it's great because the running gag is that, oh, like 21 Jump Street, he's an undercover cop, he's a narc,
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
everybody treats you like that. Which actually jumps to mind, the mustache. Which, I mean, I'm sure
Oh, yeah.
you've talked about it to death about the mustache. I'm
Yeah.
curious, when you finish shooting,
Mhm.
how soon does that come off? Like when you wrapped for the season, same day.
Well, typically same day. It's basically once I wrap, it's me continuously asking, "Hey, when can I shave? When can I shave?" But they want me to keep it for a little bit after just to make sure I didn't have anything else left to
Right.
shoot or, any, like, retakes or anything like that. And then right away, the first opportunity, that thing's gone, you know? I didn't wanna come home to my girlfriend to see my stash. I was like, it's awful.
Yeah, yeah. So what I'm hearing is you're not a fan. You're not a fan of the stash. And
Oh, no, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's just awful.
you got to ask Dwayne the next time you talk to him, like, dude, why did you do this? Like, what
Oh,
was
he'll admit. He'll
why?
admit it was awful. Yeah, exactly.
I guess when you're at that age, I mean, I remember I was a young bloomer myself. I think I had a full beard by the time I was 16.
Yeah.
And it's like it's just to stand out from your peers. Like, yeah, I look cooler, man. I'm more badass, you know?
Yeah, so you know what I'm saying? And you do a little
You gotta, yeah,
brush of your
clean it up. Do you
Yeah.
have when you're growing it in for the season? Do you have like a skincare routine? Like, do you have to like brush it and like line it up or
I mean,
anything?
and sometimes it's oh, man, well, but, once we shoot it, it's more trimmed, and it's more just like a light thing going on. But, prior to the first season, I didn't know how big they wanted me to grow it, you know? So I grew that thing, and it was awful. It was just, like, over my lips, and it was just, like, this full on, like, dark stash. But I had fun with it because 'cause I'd just be sitting, like, at home on the couch watching TV, and I'd have my brush, and I'd just be brushing it like this.
You twirl it at the ends. You get it
Yeah,
real
it's rolling
curly.
in. It's relaxing, man. It's good, yeah. But I haven't had it that long since 2020. I think that was the ugliest thing I've ever had on my face, so
Oh man, the military me has jokes about that, about the ugliest thing on your face. But you know what? We're gonna
yeah.
move right past that. We're gonna move. We're good at roasting each other, so that's just what we do.
Yeah.
So can you give us an idea? What's a typical day shooting for you? Like wake up. What's the routine for you when you're shooting?
Um, okay. Well, a typical day on a busy week would be okay, say we're on a Monday. Um, I'll usually wake up. I usually don't work out on like a Sunday, and then I will wake up around call time sometimes can be from like 4 or something in the morning to 5, so 6. So we'll say most of them are around like 5:30. So let's say I had a 5:30 a.m. pickup from the hotel. Um, I'll wake up. My routine now, my buddy, oh, dang, I can't say his name. Damn. He's in this season, but
Almost
he was
got
my
you. Almost.
yeah. He's my gym buddy, and he plays one of the new wrestlers on the show. Big character, really great guy too. But we would go to the gym every morning at 3 a.m. He would text me. We wake up, go to the gym at 3 a.m. For 2 hours, come back around 5. If our call time was earlier, we just wake up earlier, like 1:30 or 2, and then shower. And then usually I would call my mom for maybe like 10 minutes or so, then tell her I gotta go, study lines for a few minutes, and then head on the bus. So say I left at 5:30 a.m. We're on traveling to the studios. Let's say it was on location that day, not at the studios. It would be like a 20-minute drive. Get there, get in my trailer. I throw on my costume for the day. It's usually hanging up when I get in there. And then I go to the makeup trailer and I say what's up to the gang. It's like the best time being in the makeup trailer because that's people you see every day. You got music playing and it's a good time. I get my coffee. I'm chilling. I get my caffeine. Do that. It doesn't take much for me because I mean, there's not much. It's
Yeah.
literally just like a pluck of the hair, and they're like, "Okay, you go," because like don't have to change the hair. But Joseph and Stacy, of course, they have like a wig or they dye their hair or sideburns or something crazy. So I'm in and out in like 10 minutes, and then I'm shooting. Um, Sometimes we'll have like we shoot multiple episodes at the same time.
Mhm.
So we'll shoot a scene from one episode right away, and then they'll bring me to another set. We'll run a rehearsal. We usually have a read of the lines, um, but I'll still be in my costume from the last episode. Then I'll go back to my trailer, change a new costume, then come back to set and shoot that scene from a new episode. And we just do that kind of repeatedly. We'll have a lunch break and do it back and forth. There's usually shenanigans and hijinks that happen in between on set.
Got to keep the
Uh,
spirits light. Spirits light.
yeah, to keep the spirits light, exactly.
Mm.
And then let's say we end our day, maybe like, I mean, if it's a long day, we might wrap around like maybe like a 7, 8 p.m. If we had a 5:30 pickup, maybe a 7 or 8 p.m. or something like that. Wrap, and then we'll head home. I'll usually get some dinner. Then I'll go straight to the gym, or usually for a run. Usually that night it's for a run. I'll always hit the gym in the morning. So I'll go for a run afterwards, come back, study lines, go to sleep as early as I can, um, and then do it all over again.
I
Yeah, there was one day I was like, it was the longest one. It was I woke up at 1 and I went to the gym and I came back around 3:30 and I got picked up at 3:45. And then I went to start filming. I was on set by like 4:15. And then I didn't wrap until like 9:30. It was like 9:30 or like 10 p.m. And then I came back. By the time I got home, it was like 10:45. And then I showered, went to bed around 11:30 and then woke up again at 3 and then we did a whole nother long day. It's nice, but it's love. I love it, man. It's like that grind of shooting is so fun. Because
That's
I mean,
great.
half the time we're just sitting around between takes. I'm not
Sure.
working that hard. It might be a long day, but I'm not like I'm
Yeah.
not sweating really. So
Yeah.
I love it.
And I challenge people all the time, like, oh, it must be, so easy. It's a 30-minute episode. So, and they're only in like 10 minutes of it. And then, like, dude, you have no concept of like, you're on, like, it's go, go, go. You're on the move. And,
Uh,
and
yeah, you better know your lines too.
and
You
I'm
gotta
telling you, and you hear, I've gotten to talk to a lot of actors and directors and producers and things, and you
yeah,
hear the different, like when it comes to TV, how it's a much faster pace, and like you said, they're filming multiple scenes across multiple episodes at the same time, where movies
yeah.
might be a slower pace, you might go
Mhm.
linear in how they do things, but yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the work you guys put into is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Um,
I was there for 5 months, and I think, I had breaks in between, so it's not always like that. I mean, I had a whole month where I wasn't shooting, and I was living in Australia, and I got to go hold some koalas and pet kangaroos. So sometimes a work week can be less too.
right.
So you can work a couple of days and have a day off. So sometimes it's not back to back to back like that.
And I think
But
too, it's good for a character like yours where I think of all the different rocks that are, you have a portion of it here, a portion of it there. Whereas,
mhm.
you think the mom and the dad who are practically in every scene,
Yeah, yeah,
they're
Joseph and Stacy, I'm like
they're running those dudes ragged.
they are the true anchors of the show. They really are. Yeah.
They're the greatest. Did you keep any mementos from the first season?
Yeah, 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 this chain. I stole this from the first season, and then I wore it coming back. They're like, "Oh, you can't take anything." I was like, "Okay, I won't." Well, they weren't that mean. They're so sweet. They're lovely people. But I did steal it from them. And then I showed up with it this season. I was like, "Oh, I can just wear it again this season." And they're like, "I knew you stole it." It's like walking back into the store you stole something from,
Yeah.
wearing what you stole.
You know what?
But
I think it's only fair. I think it's only
yeah,
fair
it's
you get
only
to keep
fair.
something.
It's an unwritten rule. You take something back with you.
You got
This
to.
season, I got a cow.
Mm.
This season, I got a cowboy hat, and I got a and I got a pair of pants. So.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, I mean, and it's not like I mean, you're living true to the character, right? You're what they call it when you're so into the character method. You're a method actor, right? Rock at that time, he was stealing things, so you're just living the character. You're living through him.
Exactly. I'm just being what I'm supposed to be.
Okay, a couple more questions, I promise, and we're done. Will we, because obviously The Rock, legend in wrestling, right? That's where it all came from. Any interest you ever gonna you see sometimes there's a movie tie-in, the guy shows up on an episode of SmackDown or Raw. Are we ever gonna see you on some WWE wrestling?
It's something that we've all brought up and talked about wanting to do, just about everybody on the show. We'd love to do something like that. It would be so cool. So who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see, man. I would love to do that. I really would.
I can imagine the reaction, right? The Rock's music plays, and then down comes Little Dewey, and then it plays again, and then you come down, and then he plays again, and Uli comes down, and then it plays if you have all you guys in the ring doing your best Rock promos, I think would be a huge hit. Just saying.
I mean, it would be nuts. It would be pretty cool. Imagine he comes in afterwards. Oh, we're all wearing the same
outfit. You got to be wearing the same outfit.
Everything. Oh man.
Which I will say, The Rock has worn some. I mean, his revealing outfits. He wears
What it is. You know what? That's one thing that I'm glad that I haven't had to do yet. I mean, honestly, it would be worth it to get to wrestle and do something cool, Yeah. But watching all the other wrestlers on the show, when I see what they've got in their trailer, and I loom you got to put that on, buddy. Yeah. These tidy whities.
Yeah. The Spanx and the little, the.
Yeah, you better be hitting the gym. Don't skip leg day.
Yeah, man. You gotta have a whole lot of charisma and confidence to wear some of the things these guys are worn, man. Because
exactly. Yeah.
All right. Let me ask you this: in your opinion, knowing season 1, knowing season 2, and I'm not going to ask for spoilers, obviously, because I'm very excited. I want to see it myself. Do you see room for this story to grow? Can we get a season 3? Can we get a season 4? How far do you think they can realistically stretch this story? How far would you like to see it go? I mean, maybe not as an actor, right? Because you're I want this to work out forever, and I never have not had a job.
I was about to say, let's go about
10 years. You get that Friends money where it's $1 million an episode. That's you gotta get to. But
I mean, every time we wrap a take and it was good, it would have a one take or something. That's occasional. We don't always do one takes, but if something does go really well, we all turn around and be one take, baby, or 10 seasons. Give us 15 more.
There you go.
We'd love to keep it going, obviously. And I think Dwayne would love to keep it going. I think, all of us would love to. But I think, there really is so much that could be told that is not. I mean, when you think about it, last season, what was happening in my era was a short span of time. Even what's happening this season for me, short span of time. You can go back and play these different stories, so long as, Adrian doesn't grow 2 more minis, I show up next season
puberty.
And he put me in a chokehold.
Puberty hits.
Either way, I think that there's so much for them to tell, and it would be fun just to see what they do. And going into this season, I had no idea, what could possibly happen. And I think they could end up going back for it. They can play with the timeline so much. And, we all, like I said, I'm 23 playing 14, 15, it's really in the face. I look young. It's a blessing to be able to still be bigger, but play younger, because as long as I look younger here, I can still be anywhere in that range, But there really are so many stories and some things that he's told me when we were chatting that has not come up on the show yet. That I would love to see happen on the show. It'd be hilarious. So I think there really is a lot to tell in every era.
Yeah. And I mean, that's so, and especially again, to harp on your specific era, it really is the untold story, because I read his book and I remember watching interviews with him and obviously his early college days and his early wrestling days, so well documented, so well documented. And as a child, you would hear the stories about, Peter Maivia and his dad, Rocky Johnson. And like, these are stories that were very rarely did we hear about those formative years, those middle years. So, I mean, as a fan, those are the years I'm most excited about watching because those are the ones that I'm less familiar with and get to really learn more about that guy. So
Yeah.
lucky, man. So
It's
lucky.
so cool. Yeah, it's so cool with him, but even like we were saying with the wrestling, he's always been involved. To see where he came out in wrestling, when he had his big debut, I think, there's people that were involved in that for him that had been in his life since he was, a
Mhm.
preteen. So it's really cool when you watch this season, you'll see people that come back up later on.
That's awesome. That's so
Yeah.
good. Last question I want to ask you is about the Christmas special.
Oh yeah.
Was that something that was like known about from the get-go, right? When you got the green light, you're gonna do the season. Was that something that you guys knew you were gonna do, or was that something that came up after the fact?
Yeah, so we did that right away. When we got renewed, they said, "Oh, we're also gonna do a Christmas special too," and I had no idea what that would be like. Um, and it was so badass. I mean, to be able to have, I think we read the scripts like in August or something like. So we figured it out in like May, and then we didn't get the scripts till August. And I was like, "Wait, we're all in the same scene together. This makes no sense." Like, how are you gonna do this? And it's still like I read that script and it was hilarious, and I could not picture in my brain how it would be. It was just so cool to be a ghost. Like, what? And filming it was so fun to shoot with them, and it was so trippy and cool to see like us together on the same screen at the same time. And to see doubles of ourselves is pretty
Yeah.
cool. But it's really awesome how that worked out. And Christmas is my favorite time of year, and I think that was really special for us too because most of us didn't get to go home for Christmas this year. And I think you know doing that, like our families were telling us they were watching the episode when it came out. And they're like,
Mm,
"Oh, my family sent me a picture of everyone at home at Christmas watching that episode," and it's like I was there with them.
that's
Um,
awesome.
and I really think that episode put out the spirit that we were hoping for, of like just the traditional Christmas spirit of bringing things back home and being happy, like to be with family and being sweet. What's most important.
Yeah. No, it was a great episode. I loved it. It was a surprise. 'Cause I'm a guy that like I like to be surprised by things, and it just popped up on like my DVR, and I was like, oh, "There's
Yeah.
another episode," And it's like, "Oh, it's a Christmas special," which
Yeah.
it's kind of like the old sitcom trope, right? Where there's the Thanksgiving episode, there's the Christmas
Yeah.
episode, but
Yeah, exactly. It was a Halloween episode.
yeah, but you guys, I mean, really nailed it, and the spirit of it, and I can only imagine how exciting it was because these are people, the other rock actors, even though you didn't have scenes prior to that, you guys have spent time together, right? I mean, you're shooting in same locations and things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A
So,
ton of time together. Like I said, we all stay at the same hotel, so, we have, barbecues, pool parties, do whatever together.
so like the opportunity to then act finally after a full season of
Mhm.
shooting to be able to act with each other, in something that I'm sure nobody thought would be possible, just given, the
Yeah,
timeline, the time and space
exactly.
continuum,
Uh-huh.
but that's so cool, man. Without spoiling anything, is that something we could maybe see again at some point? Some type of crossover between decades?
I would say why not?
Yeah.
Why not? I think something like that could happen sometime. I mean, it's
Awesome.
really cool the way like, that's the exciting thing about this show is even the format of it, I feel like there's nothing I've watched that is like this. There's some similar things, but you're always in for a surprise. We really don't know how, things are gonna play out or how they're gonna show it to you or, you never know. It's really exciting.
Yeah, and I would say you guys live up to the spirit of Dwayne the Rock Johnson because every time you try to put that guy into a box, like he comes out with something totally. When he dropped the rap, I was like, dude, that's it. Come on,
Like,
enough,
"What?" Yeah.
enough, man.
That was us on set every day. We were like, "About drop, about bow."
It's like, dude, can you
Yeah,
leave something for anyone else? There's no room left for the rest of us because he's taking up all of it.
exactly, man. He's conquering it all. It's nuts.
Awesome. Bradley, this has been a truly special treat for me. Thank you so much. Real quick, do you want to promote your social media? How can people follow you, support you, see what you're up to?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm not super active. I need to try to be a little bit more active, but, you can follow me on Instagram at Bradley Constant. That's it. But you don't have to. I mean, if you want to, man.
Humble. He's so
Yeah.
humble.
But love to everybody. I hope you have a really good year. And regardless of whatever you got going on in your life, keep working hard and stay positive always.
Awesome. Awesome. Everybody, this has been Bradley Constant. He's absolutely outstanding. Check out Young Rock Season 2, March 15th, 8 p.m. Eastern. And hopefully we're now buddies. You know, you can call me CQ. I mean, you can't call him DJ, but you can call me CQ. And we got to have you back on the show sometime in the future when we talk next seasons or the big movie you get and all those things, man.
Whatever happens, man. This was a great conversation. I would love to come back on here anytime. You're awesome.
I appreciate it greatly. All right, guys, we're going to toss it to a quick break. We will be back with more right after this. Shots.